Hey guys, welcome to Titanium Tuesdays on Propelio TV. I'm your host, RJ Bates. Today I'm sitting down with Brandon Richards. We're going to talk about work-life balance and what that looks like in trying to be a monster entrepreneur and also travel the world and spend time with your family. We'll be right back after these messages. I'm super excited today because I nailed that intro. So today's episode is going to be amazing. Brandon, how are you doing today?
Good, man. Good.
So, I wanted to bring you on today so we could talk about, travel, spending time with family. I know that's a big part of your life and what you strive to, that's part of why you're an entrepreneur, right?
Right, yep.
But you also have this desire to have these monster goals as an entrepreneur, and how do you balance that, and kind of what have you set in place in your business to actually kind of keep that work-life balance?
Well, ultimately it comes down to systems. So I kind of learned it by watching others primarily, but I noticed really soon off our first deal, as you know, we did all the work ourselves, but then I partnered up with my buddy Austin Good on the next deal, and I realized, man, he was only there 2 times, maybe 3 times the whole project.
Right.
And then we got paid, so I was like, I need systems. So I learned it really quick. So it took me a while to find all the right contractors, but primarily it was, on my office task.
Right.
So
let's talk about that. I mean, you talk about systems and kind of what you're doing. Are you mainly flipping, wholesaling? You're also a licensed realtor. So
right.
kind of what does your business look like?
The retail real estate stuff, I don't do a whole lot anymore. I've got a small team, as you know, and anything that I get, the little that I get, I just hand off to them for the most part. But wholesaling and flipping is the main business, and so the parts that I've systematized are the marketing aspects.
Okay.
Ashley does a lot of all the accounting, maintains the utilities and stuff. But as far as systems, the VAs, so they're pulling my Propelio leads, they're getting my marketing on click to mail, they're doing my ringless voicemail, they're doing everything.
So let's talk about that, because people bring up VAs all the time.
Right.
And it's not as simple as you go to some VA service and they know what you want them to do.
Okay.
Most of the time they're kind of completely ignorant about what
real
you
estate.
need. So do you have systems set up to train them on how to work that marketing and do that for you, or is it kind of hands-on experience?
I wouldn't say there's a system, but it's fairly easy, I found. So the first couple of VAs I went through, they were trial and error.
Yeah.
But essentially it came down to is, for some reason I was scared in the beginning to get those VAs, because it's like, what if I don't train them right, or if they, because I was thinking, I want them to do my postcards, but then they got to have my credit card number. So there's a lot of fear of, the what if. So finally I just started making videos of everything I do on the computer.
Awesome.
So they know where to go to do the Propelio list. They know to go on a real estate list source, TLO. I mean, they do all of it. And so I just made simple 5 to 15-minute videos on every specific task. I wrote it down, and then if they had any questions, it just came back to me. But it's all in a Google Drive file. So if they ever have questions, just say, go watch the video again, please.
Well, that also helps with the turnover too.
Yep.
If you ever lose one, then you already have all the systems right there, and they can watch those videos. For those that are just tuning in, a VA is a virtual assistant. A lot of times we just kind of throw out terms as if we assume everybody knows. Where are some of the places that you've located good virtual assistants to help you?
So the first couple I went through was on Upwork.
Yep.
Ended up getting rid of them because, Connor Steinbrook, I kind of got the idea and the processes from him, and I got connected with his VAs.
Okay.
So it's a small VA company in the Philippines.
And how many VAs right now do you have working for you?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5.
Yeah.
And does each one do a different task, or do you kind of?
Well, it's a pretty big company, so they work for several people. Obviously, Connor, but they split the task up, and I don't know who's doing what each day. But I know when I'm interacting with them on WhatsApp or via email, it's one of 3 different people. It's either Sylvia, I forget, it's a weird name. I forget her other name. Pinky. That's what.
There you go, Pinky.
So,
Pinky in the brain. Are you the brain?
Yeah, I try to be. Yeah, that's the point, right? Got to be.
Yeah.
We got to be.
So let's talk about. You said you set up systems so you can kind of be out of the business a little bit. You're doing direct mail.
Yep.
Who's answering those phone calls?
I am.
Okay.
So, primarily the number one reason is I simply don't have the volume to justify outsourcing that task.
Right.
And I've never been a volume guy, as you may know, but I get, I don't know, 5 calls a week.
That's not bad. So let's kind of talk about the goals that you set up for your company, because you say you're not a volume guy, but I know you're kind of like a lifestyle guy.
Right.
Obviously, look at your logo. You got a guy climbing the side of the mountain upside down.
You got to climb, yeah.
So when you set up goals for your business, is it you set up the goals for the business first, or like your personal goals that you want to achieve for that year?
It's always a mental battle, really.
Right.
Because my mind is, I guess I would say my heart is always in the mountains. I want to be in the mountains. Or on a motorcycle, whatever it is. And so that does tend to drive my focus a lot of the time.
Yep.
But then it forces me to build those systems. So then my mind kicks in and, all right, so when I'm gone, what are the things I got to worry about? And that's where the VAs came in. So I have to have my marketing go, oh, I'm gone. So I got the VAs. Answering the phone calls, I just have buddies answer it.
Right.
And with only a handful of phone calls a week, it's pretty easy to do. And so what I'll do is just, most of the time we'll just do a wholesale. So if something comes in, they'll go take a video, they'll walk the property, and we'll decide what to do with it, but it's always like a 50-50 split. So.
That's cool. So, I mean, it's like, we see each other. You're in the same, I guess, market that we are.
Yeah.
And we see each other at the meetups and the networking events and stuff like that. And I feel like every time I see you, it's always this battle that you're in between, I want to massively grow my company, or I really just want to do less volume, higher profit, so I can spend more time with my family and travel in the world.
Yeah, so that's been my big battle is I want to hike all the time, but I want to show up to the hiking trail in a Lamborghini. So it's a big battle.
Yeah.
So for me, it's in the beginning it was, and you may or may not have their story. My first house, me and Ashley working on it 16 hours a day. Then I'd get home, get sitting on the computer at 2 a.m. I would try to fit in some family time, and I was like, this isn't working. So now it's girls get home, they do their homework, I put the phone in the office, we go out to the living room, we do whatever, it's a movie, game, or whatever. But now it's, for example, so 2016 when I first started as a realtor, made no money. 2017 figured it out, did 27 transactions, made some good money. But 2018 I was like, how can I change this? 27 was all right, and then at first I was like, I'm gonna do 40 this year. But then as time went on, I was like, man, 40 for me as a solopreneur is pretty difficult. So 2018, we did 13 transactions and tripled our income. And so the goal this year is honestly, I want to do less than 10.
There you go. And you know what? I love that you just brought that up. You did less deals, but you tripled your income.
Right.
And this is something that I've talked about previously, either on podcasts or at meetups or masterminds that we're a part of, where people say, it's like always the question that's asked is, how many deals are you going to do? And it's like, I don't understand why we talk about the amount of deals.
Right.
Aren't we in this to make money?
Right.
Like, not notches on our belt where it's like, oh, look at me, I did 200 deals this year. Well, did you make $1,000 a deal?
Where that really struck home for me was Daniel Chad Moore.
Yeah.
I don't remember the numbers specifically, but he said his first year he did 70 deals?
Yeah.
The following year he dialed that down to, I don't know, 30 or something.
Yeah, it was like 20 or 30 guys.
But he made double, quadruple, whatever the numbers were. But I was like, that's really smart.
Yeah, and I mean, it makes your business so much easier to run as well.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like you're talking about the volume, the intake of calls, the amount of appointments that you have to run. And then also, a lot of times that I've noticed is when you do a deal that there's very small margins, those usually are the most difficult deals. Yeah, they're extremely stressful. They take up a ton of your time. And that's really where, as entrepreneurs, we can lose that work-life balance. Right. So often it's about, I see people, they start to grow, and then they hit this point where it's like, this is no longer fun. Yeah. And that's where the goals shift. And for us, one of the things that we've tried to do is build people around us, build systems, and we've taken a different approach to our growth, which is have a lot of people.
Right.
You've tried to keep it small and just your family. Kelly Smith talks about finding balance is difficult when you have a family. I struggle consistently about what's right for me for this time in our lives, etc. I know your daughters are extremely important to you, and they're kind of getting to an age where I'm assuming Dad's not as cool as you used to be.
Depends on the day for sure. Yeah.
So it's important to enjoy those days, you know, and sometimes it's kind of hard to move I guess ignore the fact that you're trying to grow your business and see, hey, it's more important for me to spend time with my daughters today.
Well, so like for me, it comes down to one thing primarily is fear of regret, and the regret of being on my deathbed, whether it's in a month through a car accident or in 60 years when I'm 82 or whatever.
Right.
If I'm laying in that hospital bed and I'm thinking about the things I wish I would have had done, the time I would have spent with my family, that burden, that weight is going to be far greater than the money or the time I spent working.
Yeah. I think this all goes back to like figuring out what your motivation is.
Yeah.
Like, what is your driving force behind wanting to do this?
Right.
Is it, like for me personally, I have an extreme amount of motivation behind building a large company with titanium. That is something that is important to me.
Right.
But spending time with my kids, it does eclipse that.
Yep.
And I know that. And a lot of what I want to do with titanium is for my kids and also for all the other partners that I have and their children. I want to build something special for them because, we started with nothing, I mean, very similar to you where, there was no huge capital backing when we got started.
Yep.
And I want to make sure that my children don't necessarily have to overcome those struggles.
Right.
Even though I know
without being a handout.
I know a lot of people talk about it. You don't want to make them spoiled,
right.
but those aspects are things that as entrepreneurs, I think it's becoming more and more prevalent that we actually talk about these things.
Yeah.
But for you, what would you say your why is in business? Is it for your family? Is it something? Do you care what your company accomplishes? Or is it more of just helping your family and setting something up for financial freedom?
100% financial freedom. Because if I've got the money to spend the time with my family while helping others, then at the end of the day, if there was a way to do it faster or easier, then I would do it. But I found that real estate is that ticket for me. We do enjoy flipping houses, and it's great, it's fun, but there's those stressors, and sometimes you're like, is this the avenue I want?
Right.
But for me, it's all, the guiding factor is freedom, and the business has been that model.
I also know a big step that y'all took this year was bringing Ashley into your company, right?
Right, yep.
I mean, that's a huge step in freedom. I mean, the fact that y'all can work together and not have to worry about her going to her job every day, right?
Right, yep.
I mean,
yeah, we did that because 2017, I did a lot of traveling. I mean, I probably, 13, 14, 15 times I left Dallas, went somewhere either mountain biking or on a cruise or Peru or something. And every single time it's, hey, honey, I'm leaving. You want to watch the girls?
Right.
So that's when the VAs were kind of being brought up, and that's when we're like, all right, it's time for you to get out of your teaching job. I mean, you've got all summer to come visit, but these trips don't wait for the summer. So we had her quit, so now she's doing the accounting, which relieves a tremendous amount of headache for me because I hate paperwork. Yeah, which is another reason why I hate so many transactions.
Yeah, not many people talk about the accounting side of being a real estate investor.
Right.
When you're doing wholesaling and flips, and you're also a realtor, I mean, it's like, it is a nightmare.
I literally hate it with an extreme passion, and I've always hated paperwork, which is probably a pretty big guiding factor on why I didn't follow through completing college. But Yeah, for me, the accounting was a nightmare that I would literally procrastinate for months, and then I would sit down with so much anxiety, almost panic attack mode, like trying to remember which receipt went to what house and how to classify it in QuickBooks, and it became a real nightmare. And then, running the wholesale, where to put the marketing budgets. Does it need to go to the wholesaling business or the flipping business? And then the realtor stuff, but she loves it. She's an ex-banker, teacher, very well organized, loves numbers. She'll actually sit down and do check registers.
Nice.
To relieve stress. So I'm like,
I mean, it's extremely important to have somebody like that on your team, though. I mean,
exactly.
Without that, I mean, it is a time suck. You
Yeah.
know, Randy McFeely, he brings up a great statement here. He says, we need to leave a legacy without leaving our family on the sidelines.
Exactly.
And I mean, I can't express how important of a statement that is, because it really, I see it all the time. I see people that have to travel.
Yep.
And they're so focused on their business, but then when you actually spend time with them, they no longer care about going from 100 to 200 deals or going from 2 million to 5 million. It's about, man, the sacrifices that I had to make to even get to this point.
Right. What'd you lose? Yeah.
And if you don't have kids yet, you very quickly realize how quickly that 1-year-old turns into a 6-year-old. And
Unreal.
you look back and, Facebook memories, as much as I love them, they're also like some of the most depressing things in the world, where
It's
you're
like, where did time go?
Where did that kid go,
Yeah.
And you do start remembering that there's more to life than just growing a business. And as entrepreneurs, what do we do this for? For freedom, right?
Right.
And then we look back and it's like, I have less freedom now.
Right. I mean, everybody's idea of freedom is different, but it could be family, could be travel, could be just a release from the shackles of the rat race, or whatever it is. It doesn't matter what it is, but you have an idea of freedom, whether that's a pipe dream to you and you don't think you can realize it, or it's a reality you have an actual deadline on. There's something in your mind that you want to achieve.
So I know one of the best advice that I've been given about this topic is analyze your business and all the things that are, they create a negative energy. They drain you of your energy.
Yep.
Outsource those.
Right.
And is that kind of the reason why you chose marketing and accounting and kind of delegated that out to other people?
Yeah, for me it's a time suck, and especially when it comes to a lot of paperwork. I always procrastinate. It doesn't matter what. It doesn't matter if it's what was I doing?
Writing a contract or.
Oh, I mean, writing contracts. I got the templates, but like if a new money lender wants some information, I'm like, oh boy.
I feel you there, man.
All right, so now I got to go to my Google Drive and I got to get the HUDs for the specific properties they want, and obviously it's something I need to do, and it's pretty important. But I'm like, I got to sit down and do that now?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Getting, filling out lender paperwork.
Yeah.
Especially when they won't take like a templated version that you have and they want you to fill out on their template.
Yeah.
I mean, that is like, it's literally the worst nightmare. We actually contemplated hiring a position in our company for just filling out loan applications.
Really?
And lender paperwork, because it was just something that, I mean, it drains me of all my energy.
Oh, yeah.
And so for me, the thing that I love to do in my business is be creative with real estate deals, work with either acquisitions or do the acquisitions myself, and talk to other people about how we can expand and grow the business to new markets.
Right.
Like, those are things that get me excited every day.
Yep.
Like, the reason why Cassie and I weren't here last week is because we were in Utah for Investor Fuel, a mastermind. A mastermind that we were a part of, and we met people there that are in Kentucky and New York, and now we're immediately doing deals in Kentucky, and that, to me, I've woken up the past 4 or 5 days like super pumped, where I'm like, Kentucky was not on the radar, and now we should be contracting 7 deals there today.
That's awesome.
And, it's like, that to me rejuvenates me and gets me excited.
Right.
What are the things in your company that kind of excite you and give you that energy?
I'm a scatterbrain, so typically it's like new ideas, new niches,
Yep.
or even talking to a new seller where they like my terms.
Yep.
That gets me excited.
Yeah.
You know, the innovation side of it, not necessarily the structuring side of it. You know, my biggest goal this year is to, I probably won't travel as much this year, but to, like I said, do less deals. So, I mean, ideally, I want to talk to 100 sellers and close 4 deals this year.
There you go.
I mean, four commercial deals.
Yeah.
So,
I know that's something that you've kind of reached out to me about.
Yeah.
We've been trying to do some deals together.
yeah.
That is it's a difficult goal to achieve, though, because like you're saying, I mean, you're looking at like a 4% success ratio.
Right.
So how are you dealing with the failure of talking to so many different people where it's not a deal? Whereas in single family, I mean, more often than not, if you're marketing to someone with a motivation, you should be able to make a deal happen. So kind of how are you dealing with that transition?
For me, it's when it comes to single family, I'm very, very picky. And I think I saw a comment earlier, you know, where's the most money coming from? But I'm very, very picky. So my loan terms have always been 70 to 75% LTV. And so if it's anything outside of that, I'm not even going to bother. Or if I see 8 other wholesalers showing up, I basically write it off in my mind. I don't even try to pursue it. So I'm the kind of guy that won't contract unless I know my out. Either I'm going to buy it or I know a buyer already.
Right.
But as far as the commercial, I oftentimes find it a lot easier to talk to these sellers because
There's less people talking to them.
there's almost always nobody talking to them.
Right.
Or it might be a commercial broker at some point. But even if it turns out not being a deal, most of those guys want to sit on the phone for an hour and talk about business.
Right.
That's freaking sweet.
I will say that is something that is enjoyable about talking to someone that's either an investor or someone that owns commercial, either be multifamily or storage units or whatever it is.
Right.
Because you can use phrases like cash flow.
Yeah.
And actually break it down and be like, hey, this is where I need to be based off of what the cash flow is going to look like. And they actually understand that.
Right.
Whereas if you sit down with a motivated seller on a single family residence, they don't really care about your cash flow as a rental.
They don't, yeah, I mean, they don't care if you
right.
go upside down and burn the house down.
I'm dealing with it right now. I've got a lead in Anchorage, Alaska, and it's a condo. And on first look, it looked like a great deal until I find out that there's a $450 a month HOA.
Oof, that's like the ones in Dallas.
Right, and
Whoa, no
I'm
way.
like, bro, this kills the deal.
Kills it done.
And we're slowly negotiating, but he's not understanding what I'm talking about, so he's lowering the price like $2,000 at a time, and I'm like, this is not getting me to where I need to be because of this $450 HOA fee. But if he was someone in our shoes or like a commercial operator, they would understand that better.
Yeah.
You know?
For the most part, yeah. You know, in back to the original question, I haven't really figured it out. I mean, I'm just now branching into it. So the idea is to, personally, I don't only want to flip houses just because I found a cool deal and it looks like a fun project.
Right.
And we're not quite to that point yet. You know, made a lot of mistakes, spent way too much freaking money last year. I mean, marketing alone was multiple 6 figures. Stupid.
Right.
Just trying to figure it out, like what postcard, you know, which one has worked? Is it professional or non-professional? Is it door hangers that work? Is it bandit signs? Is it ringless voicemails? Is it mass texting? So
Right.
that's my goal this year, is to pursue these commercial deals actively and aggressively while grabbing a couple single family flips here and there, you know, for eat money, bill money.
Yep.
So hopefully by the end of the year, I got to figure out I'm not touching houses anymore.
Right. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break, jump to commercials. When we come back, we would love to answer any questions that you have about work-life balance and also just some of the topics that Brandon's touching on, you know, either be marketing, jumping from single family to commercial, or anything else. So we'll be right back after these messages. right, guys, welcome back to Titanium Tuesdays on Propelio TV. Sitting down with Brandon Richards today, we're talking about work-life balance, and one of the things that Brandon has done to kind of try to achieve work-life balance is transitioning from single family to the commercial space. Let's talk about that. So on these commercial deals, are you going to try to wholesale them? Do you plan on obtaining some of them to create passive income? What's your plan there?
All of it. So one thing I noticed that was pretty cool is the more I talk about it, the more people that want to partner.
Yep.
It's freaking sweet. I mean, literally every single event I've been to, the Kingdom.
Yep.
This past weekend I went to Gary Johnson's event out in Santa Monica about notes and other stuff.
Yep.
And I mean, at the Kingdom alone, 3 people wanted to partner on these deals. I mean, I know I could wholesale some things to you. So, I mean, it's either wholesale, you know, if I can't find that partnership, the numbers don't quite work for whoever I find. But my number one goal going in is owner finance to me.
Yep.
And if I can set up the terms and it's a good cap rate and, you know, everything fits right, people want to partner all day for these things. And I've discovered finding money for single family is a lot harder for finding money for commercial.
Absolutely. And so let's talk about the seller financing side of things. How are you approaching that subject with the sellers?
Well, all of these people got into the business for money, cash flow.
Right.
Whether it's passive or active money, they're buying apartments, they're buying whatever, storage, mobile home parks for cash flow. And so they understand cash flow. And so if you go to them in the terms, I mean, you can be as creative as you freaking want. You can do an accelerated loan, you can do principal buy downs once a year, you can do interest only, P&I. Like the world is.
Is this worthy of the meteorite nugget right here? Can we drop that? Do we have that made? Because I think this is extremely important. I mean, what you're talking about here is, you know, these people understand what you're talking about.
Right.
Whereas when you go into a single family residence and you start talking about either subject to or, you know, seller financing, it's like you have to explain every single detail.
Right.
What I've experienced in these is when you go in and you're talking to someone, like you said, that was actively looking for some kind of cash flow and passive income. This could almost be more beneficial to them in their mind than actually selling the asset.
Yeah.
Think about it from our perspective. When we own or finance a house, there's a point where you are like, hey, that was better than a rental.
Yeah.
Like now I don't have to worry about it. Wipe my hands clean of it,
Right.
and I have my passive income.
Yeah, I mean, for you creating single family notes, I mean, there's a million different options. Not only do you get the headache-free cash flow, but now if you ever need to pull the equity out or you want to get money out of that or you ever need to grab an extra $40,000, split the note, front and back, down the middle, whatever, right. Different terms, raise the money for up front, sell it backside. I mean, there's a million different options. And that's how I think about these commercial deals. You can literally structure it however you want. And so I'll go in and figure out, you know, why because I send letters out. And they'll call in, and then I do a lot of cold calling. Right. So once I discover they want to sell, I try to find out why they want to sell. Are they trying to move to Michigan? Are they trying to put the money in a different property? And so if I find out they're just looking to retire, the first thing that comes to mind with most investors that are selling these high dollar ones is capital gains. So I'm like, hey, let's avoid those capital gains or try to defer them as long as we can by doing owner finance. And like I have one right now is like his big deal is like taxes, doesn't want to pay taxes.
Right.
So I initially went to him, and when you think owner finance, you're like, man, these guys are gonna want like 50% down, and you think all these weird terms, you know, and I would say it's a lot of the fear talking, but we offered 10% down, and he grabbed it, and then I was like, that was easy, why don't I just go back to him and ask for 0% down?
Right.
So I literally had this conversation with him yesterday, he's like, write it up, send it to me.
Nice.
So it's literally anything, so we can do the down payments, whatever. You can do interest only, make it more appealing. You know, there's no principal buy down. He's still getting the dollar amount he wants over the long term, and he can write off the interest payments. And at that point, he's got a lot of benefits of being in the bank. You can have a reconvene in 2 years, rather than a balloon. Be like, hey, 2 years, let's talk again, and let's see if you want to turn this into an amortizing loan, or raise the interest, or dudes.
I mean, for me, when a seller brings up capital gains, that is literally like your cue to bring up seller financing at that point in time.
Definitely.
And really what I've kind of noticed in that is it's almost more like they want to see if you're savvy enough to like pick up on it. Like they're really wanting to see like, are you going to take this the route that I want to go?
Yep.
And so that, and even the fact that you were willing to go back and say, hey, can we do 0% down? I mean, to me, we have a similar situation going on with a duplex in Akron, Ohio. And I'm like, why would we not do this? They're giving us the property.
Right.
I mean, at that point in time, it's the duplex that we're taking down it's already cash flowing, and he's giving us at an interest rate that he set and a term length that he set. But he set it where he knew we were still cash flowing.
Yeah.
And that's where it's a win-win. It's a reciprocal relationship.
Right, yeah. I mean, if you do interest only, just make sure the end dollar amount something you can refinance out of or bring a partner in or whatever. Know your exit. So don't do something ridiculous just to get cash flow, but know you're out. Make sure it cash flows, and then why not? I mean.
So let's talk about the marketing side of going after these commercial deals. Are you trying to find a motivation for them to sell, or are you just kind of going after like high equity commercial units?
So it's kind of shotgunny because there's not as many commercial deals as there are single family. So it's been a little bit of a headache, honestly, because my initial approach was find the ones that aren't entity owned, and that's easy. You can do county record search. Right. And then, depending on the day, I do all these searches myself, unfortunately, because they tend to be a little bit more difficult. But I try to look at the equity, so I'll find out what the original loan is, and if there's equity, if it makes sense. And I just evaluate equity based off of what type of asset, and then what I think the valuation is just off of rough cap numbers and rough market rent. So it's a quick mathematical. So, like if it's tax assessed at $800,000 and they just pulled out a $900,000 loan, I know there's probably no equity unless it's in a D-class area where the cap rates make more sense. But
Jessica's got a great question here.
Yeah, I saw that one.
She says, can you write in that they can't refinance for a certain amount of time to avoid the capital gains?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in the seller's shoes here, I mean, you would put a prepayment penalty.
Right.
And just honestly have that conversation up front. I mean, that's your bank, essentially in this deal, and you want to build a good relationship with them. And more often than not, these people will also have other assets that eventually you might want to be going after as well. Yeah. So you don't want to spoil that relationship by saying, hey, seller finances to avoid capital gains, and then 6 months later you bamboozle them.
Right. Well, because especially if you offer them interest only, they're banking on you offering that lower amount because the interest only payments are going to get the additional money they want.
Right.
So if you promise them 4 years interest only, don't be a jerk and try to refi out at 2 years.
And really the only way, Jessica, that they can really kind of protect themselves is with that prepayment penalty.
Yeah.
Again, this is like building a relationship business. You can't really, there's nothing else that they can put there, right? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. There's no other way they can avoid you.
Yeah, there's got to be a prepayment penalty.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I mean, they have the financing addendum, which outlines the contract. So if it states 4 year interest only, then it's got to be abided.
Right. Our good buddy Yale asks, will you still wholesale single family Arlington deals to him?
Yeah, of course. And East Dallas and Forney ones.
Yeah. I'll wholesale properties to you as well. You just never actually buy from me.
He's in very specific zip codes. He's gotten a little wild lately. He'll buy a lot of things in Grand Prairie, but his area is Arlington and East Dallas.
Very specific.
228 and 018. But he's a wild guy.
So John Brown, my good buddy up in Ohio, he says, be ethical in your business. It will make or break you in the end.
100%.
And I mean, you can't really state that enough, especially when you are trying to create a name for yourself on the commercial side of things. Have you seen that is something that you're having to kind of work on and build your reputation with like the commercial brokers?
Honestly, I haven't reached out to many commercial brokers because I want to be talking to the seller direct. I want to be able to negotiate direct and dial in those terms without having a middleman. That's what always annoyed me with JV wholesaling. No big deal. I've done a few of them, but at the end of the day, I want that direct contact because things can be misconstrued or left out, or there's a lot of mistakes. So I honestly haven't done the broker relations things. I probably should. It's a lot of what the multifamily guys do. I just simply haven't done it because all I did was slow down my single family marketing, turn on the commercial stuff. And
so what are some of the steps that you're taking there? Because there's obviously going to be a transition. Anytime you're going from one strategy to the next, how are you managing trying to figure out the commercial side of things while still maintaining the single family side of things, because that's what's paying the bills? I mean, is there a struggle there between the two?
Well, kind of, sort of. So like I said, I dialed down my single family marketing. I've gotten very specific on what I'll market to. Like last year, 2018, it was nuts. I was doing everything and anything and everything. I stopped mass texting. I stopped marketing to a lot of realtors, and my ringless voicemail has died down a little bit. It's primarily overhead. I was like, man, this is a nightmare. I make a minimum amount of dollars a month. But the way I alleviated that is I dialed back that single family. But
I also think it's very important when you're talking about your marketing that you understand that there's a skill set needed and like a knowledge and kind of a groove that you have to get in with marketing. And if you're doing, direct mail here and then ringless voicemail and then cold calling, and you're not really, you're just kind of like a jack of all trades and you're just trying everything out, and that can hurt you.
They can be detrimental for sure.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times it's like, you don't really know how to be good at ringless voicemails. I mean, I see people in the different masterminds and things like that are bringing up like, hey, I hear people talk about ringless voicemail like it's the end-all be-all, and I'm doing things and I'm not getting callbacks.
Yep.
And maybe it's because you're not using the right list or the right message that you're leaving or whatever it is. And so I think there's value in becoming a master at one technique of marketing before moving on to the next.
Right.
Matt Smith says, are you guys creating one LLC for both passive and active income, like a series LLC, or do you have separate ones for each?
Separate. So I do S corp based off of the CPA for the active flipping, and then we have a series LLC for passive assets. Yeah.
And again, Matt, I think you're out of state. I'm not. Every state's going to have different laws and things like that. I think it's definitely important to reach out to both an attorney and a CPA to kind of figure out what's the best thing to do in your state, and really the strategies for your business as well. Like, a lot of people, they have what they quote their marketing company, and then their selling company, and then they also have their flip company, and then also, like you said, a series LLC for the passive income things. You know, there's a lot of different ways to handle that. And
I would definitely talk to the CPA accountant, determine what's your end goal, because like for me, we just got the two entities, and but a good friend of mine, Tom Olson, up in Gary, Indiana, he's got like, I don't know, 8 or 10 entities all funneled into one. But then every one is each one has different classes in QuickBooks, and that's just the way he wanted the funnel for taxes or whatever his reason was. But it can be as simple or as complex as you want. Some people will not buy anything in LLCs, or they'll have an LLC as a beneficiary of a trust, and so they're hiding these assets. So, I mean, there's a million different ways to do it. Just talk to an attorney. Yeah,
this was a big topic of conversation in the mastermind that we just attended. And eventually you got to a certain point where one of the members said, look, if you're doing this for protection, at the end of the day, if someone wants to find out who you are and who owns these assets, they're going to figure it out.
Oh, yeah, they want to dig deep enough.
So don't think that this is like an end-all, be-all of protection. You have to protect yourselves and do things the right way, but protect yourself with insurance as well. That's what it's there for. And, just find what the structure is at the beginning. Talk to your, attorney and your CPAs and set it up the right way to begin with.
Right. I mean, if you get sued, that if that attorney wants it bad enough, he's going to find you. So I mean, it doesn't matter what umbrella, what entity, doesn't matter how many doors you hide behind, you're going to be found. The judge is going to force it, and somebody's going to find you. And you're always going to run into crazy. So eventually you're going to meet crazy. Just
something's going to happen
Oh,
where somebody's going to be upset. If you own assets, something's going to happen at one of the assets.
Well, they're going to assume you're rich, and they're going to come. You know,
Right.
We're in America.
Fire, slip and fall.
Yep.
It's inevitable that something's going to happen. So definitely get it set up the right way and what you feel most comfortable, and also that you understand why you have it set up that way.
Right.
So great question there, Matt. So getting back to, you know, the whole topic here today is work-life balance.
Yep.
Extremely important for you. Let's talk about the lifestyle side of things. You know, you've named your company Fearless Properties. You got the Fearless Pursuit of Freedom podcast as well. What are some of the things that you do that kind of rejuvenate you and kind of keep you connected to your family?
So a lot of it for me is I named my companies or base them around that word fearless because I don't care who you are, something scares you.
Right.
And for me, it's situations like this, getting in front of camera.
I remember you were actually the first person I interviewed for my podcast. And I remember you were like uber nervous about it. Like it was something you did not.
I was probably the second one on Propelio too. I was shaking.
I mean, you really, like, you didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
And I remember afterwards, like, obviously you're the first person I interviewed, and I was like, I don't know if that was good or not. Like, you know, this is all new to us. I didn't want to come on Propelio for the longest time because I'm afraid of cameras and lights. But now
I haven't looked at this camera very much.
I love it now. But you now have your own podcast. Here you are, you know, doing this with us today on Titanium Tuesdays.
Right. Well,
are these kind of those things that you kind of had to overcome?
Exactly. That podcast probably took me 7 months to do. And a lot of it was, I don't want to learn editing. I don't want to do audio. I don't want to do video. So eventually got the VAs to do that. But it was, man, I got to talk to these really successful people and see if they want to come on my podcast. And I'm a nobody right now. So, you know, reaching out to friends like you and Daniel and all these people, it's pretty easy, get them to come on, but I'm literally reaching out to these like multi-million-dollar a month players on Facebook, and I'm like, oh man, I hope they don't shoot me down thinking with some sort of schmuck down in Texas doing nothing.
You know what's funny about that is there have been times where I've had to interview people, and my biggest fear was always, what if they start talking about a topic that I don't understand? Right. And what I've realized is that in this industry, people are so open to like sharing. Yep. And honestly,
for the most part.
Most part. I mean, there's some people that don't want to give, but
RJ,
yes.
May I interrupt real quick?
Yes.
If we direct to the screen, you will see that Daniel is actually first, and
What?
Brandon was third.
Daniel was the, and I'm going to be honest with you. Like, this is no offense to Jason or Brandon, but I wanted to have like 5 episodes in queue, so I interviewed 5 people. I did not know who Daniel Moore was. Okay, it was on your post. You commented like, "Can't wait to go on RJ's podcast tomorrow," and Daniel was like, he commented in your post like, "I'll do it," and I was like, whatever, don't know who this Daniel Moore is, but sure, I'll interview you. I need people. Yeah. And I was like, you know, who are you? And he's like, I'm the owner of Propelio. And I'm like, the hell's Propelio? And I'm like, Propelio.com. This was before Propelio TV, you know? I mean, it was like...
Those baby stages back then.
Yeah. And, I mean, look at the picture we have on... can we pull that up?
He's all fancy dressed.
This is the... we're blocking it out there. But there's the old picture of Daniel that we had on there. One. And when I interviewed Daniel, his interview was so powerful. I mean, this guy is like... Dude, this is, you know, I mean, his story from, you know, I lived in my house with all these broken windows and in the hood and, you know, with no AC and heater, he's flipping it. And then all of a sudden he drops this bomb at the end. He's like, I'm creating a free education platform called Propelio Academy. I think this is like the first place he like officially announced it, like, to everybody. And I was like... This was amazing, and I was like, this has got to be the first episode. I was like, I don't know who this Daniel guy is, and so that's why it went out there.
Sorry, I had to interrupt.
is, my job as a fact checker is to make sure factual information comes through.
That's perfectly
TV.
fine. But Brandon was the first person that got interviewed, not the first one that got released. I think if Brandon and I went back and listened to that interview, we would probably hang our heads in the fact that we've done so many today. It was probably pretty rough. I think it was only like 24 minutes because I ran out of questions.
Was it short? Is that short?
It was that short. I think at like 24 minutes, I was like, well, anyways, man, this is a great episode.
Yeah, appreciate you coming on.
Yeah. So good stuff.
That's funny.
If you want to have a good laugh, you can go back and listen to that first episode. But anyways, it is awesome to see you like tackling things that at one point in time were kind of a fear of yours.
Yeah, I kind of force it on myself. I'll commit to things that I don't want to do. I mean, all my life, I do a lot of mountain biking and do stupid shit on my mountain bike. I do a lot of climbing. I'm scared shitless of climbing, but I love getting to the top and having that feel of freedom. I made it.
This brings up a good point. And I think just to get Ashley over her fear of lights and cameras, we just bring her up here. She doesn't have to talk. You can literally just sit up here.
She did go on the back screen.
Here we go.
Was she?
Because see, Ashley, she has a fear of being on camera.
Oh. So I guess you're staying.
There you go. So
Pop a squat here.
Oh wait, we can't even see. There you go. This is Ashley. This is the famous partner here that has quit her teaching job, come on, and handles all the accounting and stuff. And now you don't even have to talk. You just have to sit there and look pretty.
Yeah, just sit there and look pretty. Well, Chris was just saying we look too good to not be on shows, so. But I think he was referencing us handsome dudes, but now that she's on here.
I'm just going to go ahead and assume he's talking about both of y'all and not me.
Hey, man, majestic beard. I trimmed mine, but
that is cool. So what are some of the things that y'all do to like just have fun? And I know y'all travel all over the place.
So honestly, a lot of our trips aren't 100% personal trips. Like my Peru trip was personal, but we're also associated with the group called Financial Friends Network, and part of that network is everybody's an investor or an aspiring investor, but it's a group where we go do these awesome things, and it's a tax write-off because we do classes.
Awesome.
So the cruises, we're taking classes all day while we're in the ocean, blah, blah, blah. We have one coming up in Ireland. I don't think we'll be able to write it off because I don't think there's much classes, but it's with all these investors. So, man, we just love traveling.
I don't know, man. I could open up a Titanium Investments of Ireland pretty quick, and you could go check out.
Dude, we're
some
gonna be there
properties.
10 days. Let's freaking do it. Buy a castle or something.
That's awesome. So when you say you're doing classes, are you teaching or are you learning in them?
Learning, but I think back to our original questions, those fears, is I forced myself to do those things. I forced myself to do the podcast, forced myself to come here. I committed, and I was like, oh man, I gotta get on camera again. The climbing. The Kingdom last.
Yeah, y'all both just spoke at the Kingdom,
God.
and I know you were super nervous about that. But all I heard was amazing things about it, right?
Yeah, I was terrified. I was sweating for the prior hour, and what's a flashy ring? I don't know what that means.
I love it. I'm getting the flashy light. So, anyways, so yeah, you spoke at the Kingdom, and what kind of topics did y'all talk there about?
That one was getting mic'd up.
Oh, you're getting mic'd up and everything.
You're staying.
Appreciate this.
That was business and relationships primarily. We talked a lot about a story.
How is it working together now? Has that been an adjustment period?
It's
good.
There really hasn't been. I'm very impatient, and my kids and Ashley can attest to it, but which is why.
That is honestly shocking for me. You don't seem like an impatient guy.
Extremely. And his temper is pretty bad.
I don't believe any of this. I don't believe any of this.
He couldn't.
I get angry over stupid stuff, and it's primarily when like being the innovator, like in my mind, I'm like, this makes perfect sense. So when I'm trying to relate to that to anybody, I'm like, why aren't they getting this? I don't understand. Like,
He gets
and so I'm getting
frustrated.
upset. I'm like, just forget it.
Uh-huh.
So we run into that. But
I relate to this.
Yeah.
I recently had what I thought was an amazing idea. And
amazing idea on the way here.
I tell Cassie this amazing idea, and she's like, seriously, can we just focus? Like, that's not right now is not a time and place for this.
Yeah.
And I'm the same way, man. I got my feelings hurt. I was like, the hell? Like, this is the most amazing idea I've ever had.
Yeah.
So we had this exact same conversation today.
Yeah. It's literally, yeah. Honestly, there hasn't been any like hurdles on it. A lot of the hurdles is when I first was like, hey, you should quit your job. We didn't have the VAs, and so she was gonna take over all those tasks.
Okay.
But by the time it happened, because she waited till the end of the school year, then the VAs were here, and then she quit, and we're like,
nothing for me to do.
so what do you want to do? Like, should we like sit down and I'll tell you what I do? And we sat down. I'm like, well, this is kind of what I do, but the VAs do all this, and she's like, oh, so I guess I'll find something else to do. And so now she's doing the fitness thing, but she does the accounting, and it's easy peasy to her. It's cake, and it's a few minutes a week for her. But
so I have noticed you've been doing this fitness thing that you're doing online, and literally,
I don't have the right
just,
clothes on.
you're just showing off to all of us. But what is that, and how can people kind of join in with what you've got going on there?
Yeah, so I do, it's all online, like health and fitness coaching, and,
in case it crackles,
oh, sorry.
your mop.
But no, so I'm just a big cheerleader, so I motivate people to actually, I guess, go for their goals, like their fitness goals, health goals, and all that stuff. But the whole time it's been helping me get better because I have the worst diet in the whole wide world until recently.
It's been a battle for 3 years.
Yeah, he's been trying to get me to eat healthy for the past 3 years, but.
Love it when the skinniest people.
Oh, it's bad.
No, well,
Yeah,
so
the
she has
worst
good
diet.
metabolism. It's great.
And I use
but,
it to my advantage.
Man, I'm always on to her like, I don't care how great you look. What are you doing to your insides?
Right.
Because my biggest thing was, and it's why I work out a lot, is I don't want to get to my freedom point and I can't enjoy it.
Right.
Like, I'm getting my pilot's license. I do a lot of hiking. I do a lot of mountain biking. I don't want to, in 10, 15 years, finally get to that financial freedom and then like, oh, whatever. Doesn't matter. Like, so let's say I was a drinker. I just drank all the time. And now my liver can't handle my water blood conversion, and then I can't make it up mountains, like, whatever. So she's always been fit, in great shape, but it was the, she's a Dr. Pepper fanatic. Like, you're going to have kidney stones. You'd be peeing out rocks pretty soon.
It'll totally be worth it, though. Like,
see that, but that's
Dr. Pepper's
cool
good.
that like you recognize that, because a lot of people that would look like you would just be like, look, I'm fine,
Yeah.
and it's important to realize like, hey, this could have impacts on me. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Up until I was like 28, I was like your size, and it was like one day
It's a battle nowadays.
I hit 28, and it was like, RJ, you're no longer going to be 175.
Yep.
And now it's a constant struggle to get back down to where I want to be.
175?
I was 175.
I've been 175 since like grade school.
Yeah, I can see that. You're much taller, though. I mean, you're much taller than me.
You're just a
So-
beast of a man, Reinhardt, but you're like 8 foot tall.
I did a really good job of controlling this episode up until about the past 7 minutes. It's off the chains now.
Okay, back to.
reel it back.
Oh, what's he doing?
They want us to finish our story on my timeline and then segue to a break.
I feel like we're in trouble.
We are in trouble. All right, we're gonna jump to a quick break, and then when we come back, we're gonna answer any of y'all's final questions and provide solid content. We'll be right back.
This is your camera.
All right, guys, welcome
that's
back
what's
to Titanium Tuesdays here on Propelio TV. We got Brandon Richards, we got Ashley Murphy. We're just talking about work-life balance and kind of them working together. One of the things that they realized when they started working together is Ashley had some free time, so she started her own little fitness program. where's the best ways for people to find that out? Is it just on your personal Facebook, Instagram?
Probably my personal Facebook. I do Instagram also. My name is a little bit different. It's ashley.elizabeth.fitness, but I mean, Facebook is probably much easier.
Yes.
And every day you're kind of doing your workouts and sharing your videos.
Every day, yeah. Or even if you just want like some easy, well, not necessarily easy, but
she's already posting.
if you want some Facebook workout, just quick ones, just go and watch my videos because I'll post them every single day, except for Sundays.
Have you found that also like holds you accountable because
yeah.
people are expecting your posts?
Yeah, like I can't not work out every day because if I do or if I don't, it's just like, oh, why am I going to take her seriously? She's not even doing it.
And I'll
So
just dance behind her, be like, get it.
yeah, he encourages me.
So
While making fun of you.
Kelly
making
Smith
fun.
wrote, "Burn RJ." Man, I don't know what I did there.
Yeah, I don't
but
know what you did.
know.
It's not nice.
I know. Wow, Kelly. Thought we had a friendship there. So, moving forward, what are kind of your goals on? What is your ideal business work-life balance look like? What are you trying to strive for?
I don't think I'll ever stop working, but in my mind, I'm like, man, that'd be pretty sweet. But we made a lot of mistakes last year, and I'm trying to refine that this year. Spent way too much money on a lot of things, and so that's our biggest goal this year is to reconsolidate that and figure that out. But moving forward, like we discussed earlier, if I can just do a handful of solid commercial deals, then I think, I know based off the cash flow, because I'm looking for assets that are little to no management.
Right.
And cash flow nicely. If I can put somebody on the grounds or make it all online, that's what I'm looking for. So in my mind, if I can get 3 to 5 of these a year, then we can essentially do whatever we want.
I mean, that's a pretty cool place to be in.
Yeah.
If you sit there and you think about it, where because of what you've kept the low overhead.
Yep.
And now you have experience where you feel comfortable going to that next level.
Right.
If you can execute and literally accumulate assets, even if it's only 2, 3, 4 a year.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, you will be able to live that life of freedom.
Yep.
Mitchell Benson says, "Let's be real. We want to know about RJ's Hawaii flip." Well, maybe we'll have an episode about that and some other cool things that we've done. But there was a lot that goes into that particular deal.
Is that the original one from like a year ago?
No, we're still working on that one though.
Yeah, back when I wasn't spending money like, jelly beans and just disposing of it, I wanted to be a part of that, but.
Yeah, we still haven't closed on it.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, still
Sorry,
working on
dude.
it.
Sorry for bringing that up.
Kelly,
Sore subject.
we're approaching 1,000 days being under contract.
Holy Moses.
My earnest money is
this is the one that didn't have a top floor and...
Well, it does have a top. Yeah, it's 3 stories, like 9,000 square feet, overlooks the bay.
Yeah.
Posted on Instagram, Facebook, every year that it comes back around. Going back to the memories, how depressing
the
they can
painful
be.
ones, yeah.
Yeah.
Daniel talked about on Monday his 7-year short sale.
Dude, I might be there with Daniel at one point in time. So Kelly says, how would you recommend finding larger deals so you can do less and live more?
So we're still defining that, but when I first started out, I went to county records, but every single city has different classifications and CoreLogic zoning usages. So if you're looking for apartments, car washes, whatever you're looking for, if you're looking for in Garland, you won't find the same thing in Mesquite. It's hard. I actually mistakenly mailed almost over 300 car washes because I was just simply putting a number of units. And so when I pulled the list, I just sent the mailers out, and then car wash after car wash after car wash was calling me. I'm like, what the hell did I do here?
Right.
So I went back to the list, and I started Googling every single one. Every single one was a car wash, and I was like, well, how did that happen? So I dialed it back. So it's pretty difficult, honestly. I mean, there's probably an easier way about doing it. So I spent a lot of time trying to figure out which city had which classifications, but then we'll honestly just drive around, drive for dollars. So if we see a piece of crap commercial building, storage, mobile home park, that works. But I actually have 2 deals right now that are going to end up being owner finance based off of a Google search. It's a lot of work. I mean, it's stupid probably,
Right.
but if you zoom out, I mean, you're going to see an apartment very obviously. You're going to see all these things.
Right.
And so then I'll just do the research. I mean, I literally cold called an apartment complex in Bishop Arts last week. He's like, yeah, you know what? I've owned these things about 5 years. I'm ready to sell this summer. And I was like, well, you have any other ones? Is this the only one? It was like a 24 unit. He's like, matter of fact, I got 6 others I want to sell.
Nice.
Let's talk in a couple months. So it's ended up being 96 units, and I freaking Google searched it. Just Google mapped it, and just randomly cold called them. So
real quick, since I feel like I've let all of our audience down today by not bringing a whole lot of content, I'm going to drop two pretty cool little things here.
Let's do it.
You brought up the Google search. If you are a wholesaler and you have a buyer that's wanting to look for vacant land, Google Maps is one of the easiest ways to do this. You can literally go on there, take the satellite view, go over, hover over, and straight up cold call. Skip trace that address, cold call. You're looking at pennies on the dollar for getting exactly what you need. You're not having to pull a list or anything. It just takes a little bit of sweat equity. The second thing is, you brought up, you sent out some direct mail and you got a ton of car washes calling you.
Yeah.
Well, I made a similar mistake, so I'm going to teach you a really cool way to do direct mail, but one little key part that I left out the first time I did it. We did direct mail in Phoenix, Arizona, sent it out. We got a ton of calls from vacant land, and that's pretty much all we got, and we weren't looking for vacant land. But the cool way to pull a list for direct mail, and this is straight up from my buddy Todd Swaggerty, Yellow Letter HQ. These are proven lists that he pulls people that are finding success in San Diego, Boston, LA, Las Vegas, some of the most competitive markets out there. The list that he pulls is unknown last sales date, unknown recording date, unknown sales price, unknown percentage of equity. Okay, so it's all unknown, and the reason why is because a lot of times when we say, hey, it needs to have 50% or more equity, you're cutting out the people that have owned it for so long that it's not even on county records anymore. And so a lot of times these are also the unknown recording date. It could be inter-family transfer deeds that you just don't know. So we call it the unknown list. Be prepared for a lot of people that have owned it forever. And they aren't looking to sell, but when you do find someone that is looking to sell on that, there is more than enough equity there and motivation, and usually distress in the property. So with that being said, I'm going to wrap up on those little fire nuggets there. For you guys, kind of wrap up with your final thoughts and best way for people to kind of follow you. And
she's Instagram or Facebook, or I'm primarily Facebook. That's one of the other things I'm trying to define is like which one to go, because I'm on Twitter, on LinkedIn, but I think I'm sticking to Facebook. It's easy to communicate with a lot of people because I do my best not to, or I do my best to answer every single question, not to miss everybody. So Facebook for me.
What's the best way they can follow your podcast?
All right, podcast.
Yeah.
Shameless plug. It's syndicated to a lot of different websites, so it can be on Spotify, YouTube, SoundCloud. Should be on iHeartRadio soon.
Nice.
So, The Fearless Pursuit of Freedom. iTunes, probably. I guess I should probably build my presence there.
iTunes.
Yeah.
Leave a review, 5 stars.
Yeah, what he says. He's good at this. He's good at this podcasting thing.
And for you, Instagram, Facebook?
Yeah, both. Probably Facebook more than Instagram.
Awesome. Well, guys, again, we have to give all of our thanks to Propelio for putting this on for us. They give us the platform here, so check out Propelio.com. Lead lists, MLS comps, investor websites. Thank you to Propelio. You can follow me on Facebook, RJ Bates III. Also check out Titanium Investments. We buy and sell real estate. Always looking for JV partners, always looking for deals. That being said, that's this week's episode. Check in tomorrow for Grant Teach Me Something. Iron Heels on Thursday. Heels Off on Friday. And what else we got? We got a new show coming up. Can I make that announcement?
Like, you should let the people who are on the show
No? All right. Whatever.
Okay, here, you can throw me on. I gotcha. Quentin Flores is having a show. He's going to start next Thursday. Jason Bible is going to have a show. We don't know when that's starting. Eddie Speed is going to have a show. Don't know when that's starting.
Dang, where's all the time going to go?
Kelly and TJ they're having a show together. Jaylee and Kristen are having a show together. Elizabeth Navarrete is having a show with a couple of people. And then
Haley, right?
Bettina and your face is gold right now. And Bettina and Katie are taking over the recap show. Claire is joining over with Russ to help out with that show. So if you're keeping count, that's a lot.
Miss Haley Gant.
Well, that's a lot of shows, man. Those are a lot of good people, though. I mean, I'm super pumped. Those are some of my good buddies that are getting new shows. So thank you to Propelio for putting that on.
BP and Chris to possibly come in too.
BP and Chris, good stuff.
Oh
dear.
That'd be sweet.
Yeah, it would be sweet. All right, guys, that's our show for this week. We'll see y'all tomorrow.
Peace.
Hey everybody, I'm Ryan with Propelio. If you like what you saw, please subscribe. Turn on those notifications and stick around for more. We have tons of content like this all over our channel. So if you want to learn more about real estate investing, stick around, watch Propelio TV, and we'll see you later.